Have you ever felt a connection so deep with someone that even when they're not around, their presence feels unshakable? Like they've somehow carved a space within you, a space you can't fill with anyone or anything else. That's what it often feels like with twin flames, especially during separation. And as painful as that space can be, it's also where something magical happens, telepathy, a silent, invisible thread that keeps you connected even when the world seems to have pulled you apart. You know, separation between twin flames isn't just about physical distance. It's this deep, soul-level experience where you might not be in each other's lives in the way you were before. But that connection doesn't just disappear. If anything, it intensifies. And that's where telepathy comes in. Those subtle signs that remind you they're still with you, even when they're not. It might start with something simple, a thought of them that pops into your mind out of nowhere, completely uninvited, yet so vivid that it feels like they're right there beside you. You could be doing something mundane, folding laundry, walking down the street, or even lost in a book, and suddenly they're in your mind. It's not like thinking about someone on purpose. It's different. It feels like they're thinking of you, and somehow you're picking it up. Then there are those moments when you feel a wave of emotion that doesn't quite seem to belong to you. Maybe you're having a perfectly fine day, and all of a sudden, this deep sadness washes over you. Or maybe it's a burst of joy for no apparent reason. It's confusing at first because you're left wondering, where did that come from? But when you start to pay attention, you realize it's them. You're feeling their emotions, their highs and lows, like some sort of energetic echo. Dreams are another sign. Twin flames often connect in dreams during separation. And these aren't just ordinary dreams. They feel more like experiences, almost like you've met them in some other realm for a moment. You might wake up feeling comforted, or sometimes longing for them even more. But the dream itself often leaves a lingering sense of connection, like a reminder that no amount of physical separation can truly sever what exists between you on a soul level. And then there's the synchronicity. You start noticing things that remind you of them. Maybe it's their favorite song playing at the exact moment you're thinking of them, or seeing their name in the most random places. These little moments feel like cosmic nudges, as if the universe is whispering, they're still with you. But perhaps the most profound sign of telepathy is when you sense what they're going through without them having to say a word. You might not have spoken to them in days, weeks, or even months, but somehow you just know. You feel when they're struggling, when they're happy, when they're thinking of you. It's like tuning into a frequency only the two of you share. And it's hard to explain to anyone else, because how do you describe knowing something about someone when there's no logical reason you should? There's also this undeniable pull, this urge to reach out to them, even when your mind tells you not to. It's as if their energy calls out to you, and you can feel it in your heart, almost like an ache. Sometimes you resist it, telling yourself it's all in your head. Other times you give in, only to find that when you do, they were feeling the exact same way at that moment. It's like your souls are in constant conversation, even if your physical selves are apart. And that's one of the hardest parts of twin flame separation, the longing. The feeling that no matter how much time or space passes, they're still a part of you. But even in that longing, telepathy becomes a lifeline. It's this subtle, almost sacred form of communication that reminds you you're never really alone. Now, telepathy isn't always loud. It doesn't always come in obvious ways. Sometimes it's quiet, a gentle knowing, a soft whisper in your mind. Other times, it's a feeling in your body, like a warmth in your chest or a flutter in your stomach when you know they're thinking of you. And as strange as it might sound, there are moments when you feel their presence so strongly, it's as if they're right there with you. Some people experience physical sensations too. Maybe you feel a touch on your hand when no one's there, or a tingling sensation when you think of them. It's as if your souls are reaching out, bridging the gap that physical distance can't close. And what's fascinating is that twin flame telepathy doesn't rely on you believing in it. It just is, whether you understand it or not, whether you're consciously aware of it or not, it happens. It's part of the connection, part of what makes the twin flame journey so unique and so profound. But as beautiful as telepathy can be, it's also a reminder that separation, as painful as it feels, is often part of the process. It's where growth happens. It's where healing takes place. It's where both souls learn what they need to, so that if and when they come back together, they're more aligned, more whole. And maybe that's why telepathy is so significant. Because even when it feels like everything else has fallen away, it's that thread that keeps you connected. It's what reminds you that no matter how far apart you are in the physical world, on a soul level, you've never really left each other. And sometimes that's exactly what you need, to be reminded that love like this isn't bound by time or distance. Twin flames have a way of transcending the normal rules of connection, and telepathy is a perfect example of that. It's almost as if the universe allows this invisible dialogue to happen, so you don't lose faith in the connection during the hard times. Because separation, no matter how necessary, can feel like a kind of heartbreak that doesn't quite heal. Telepathy, in those moments, becomes a balm, subtle, quiet, but deeply comforting. There are times when the signs feel undeniable, like the universe is trying to get your attention in the most obvious way. Maybe you're thinking of them, and suddenly your phone lights up with something, a message, a notification, or even a memory that involves them. It feels as though the world is conspiring to remind you that this connection is alive, even when you don't see it in the physical. But what's interesting is that telepathy isn't always about romantic connection or longing. Sometimes it's practical. It's as if your twin flame is gently nudging you in the right direction without needing to say anything. Maybe you're contemplating a decision or feeling unsure about something, and suddenly you get this clear sense of what to do. It's not your logical mind figuring it out. It feels more like intuition, like you're receiving a message from someone who knows you better than you know yourself. And isn't that what the twin flame bond really is? It's this mirror, this deep soul recognition where they see you in ways that others can't. And even during separation, that mirror doesn't go away. It's still reflecting things back to you, sometimes through telepathy, sometimes through dreams, and sometimes through the emotions that rise within you. It's not always comfortable. In fact, it can be incredibly triggering. But it's part of the process. It's how both souls evolve. You might even find that telepathy becomes more intense during key moments in your life. When you're going through something big, when you're at a crossroads, or when you're experiencing deep personal growth. That's when their presence feels stronger, even if they're nowhere near you physically. It's as if their energy is drawn to you in those moments, offering silent support, whether you realize it or not. And if you've ever tried to ignore the connection, you know how persistent it can be. You might go through periods where you tell yourself, I need to move on. I need to let go. But no matter how hard you try, there's that familiar pull, that quiet sense that they're still with you. And honestly, it's not something you can force away. It's something you have to learn to live with, to accept as part of your journey. But here's the thing. Twin flame telepathy isn't just a reminder of them. It's also a reminder of you. Because every time you feel that connection, every time you sense them or pick up on their emotions, it's also an opportunity to go inward, to ask yourself, what is this showing me? What part of myself is being mirrored back right now? Separation isn't just about being apart from them. It's about discovering the parts of yourself that need healing, that need love. And telepathy, in a strange way, can guide you toward that. Because as much as it's about feeling connected to them, it's also about feeling connected to your own soul. And maybe that's one of the most beautiful, if bittersweet, things about twin flame telepathy during separation. It invites you to trust the process, to trust the connection, and most importantly, to trust yourself. It's not always easy. In fact, there will be moments when you doubt everything, when you question whether you're imagining it all. But then something will happen, a dream, a synchronicity, a feeling, and you'll be reminded that this connection is real, that it's something beyond the ordinary. Telepathy during separation can feel like a lifeline, but it's also a teacher. It teaches you patience. It teaches you to trust what you can't see. And it teaches you to tune into the subtler aspects of life. The quiet knowing, the unspoken messages, the energy that flows between souls. And maybe that's the purpose of separation after all. Not to punish you or to create pain, but to help you grow. To help you learn how to stand in your own energy, even when you feel incomplete. To remind you that the love you seek from your twin flame is already within you. Because that's the paradox of the twin flame journey. It's not just about finding another person. It's about finding yourself. So, the next time you feel that sudden wave of emotion or catch yourself thinking of them out of nowhere, instead of questioning it, maybe just sit with it. Breathe into it. Let it be what it is. A reminder that love like this never truly leaves. That even in separation, there's connection. That even in longing, there's growth. And when those moments come where the telepathy feels strong, when you sense them so deeply it almost takes your breath away, know that it's okay to feel it. It's okay to miss them. It's okay to long for them. But also know that every time you sense them, it's because your souls are still communicating, still learning, still walking this journey together in some way. Separation might feel like an ending, but it's really just another part of the journey. A part where telepathy becomes the bridge. A part where you learn to trust what you can't always see. A part where you discover that even when they're not physically by your side, they're always with you. In thought, in energy, in love. It's strange, isn't it? How someone can be absent from your life, yet so present in your mind and heart. That's the paradox of twin flame separation. You're apart, and yet you're never really apart. And telepathy is the thread that keeps pulling you back to this truth again and again. Over time, you start noticing how intuitive this connection really is. You might sense their energy before something significant happens. Maybe you feel restless or emotional, and you don't know why, only to find out later that they were going through something intense at that exact moment. It's like your souls are wired to pick up on each other's frequency, even when you aren't consciously aware of it. And what's fascinating is that this telepathic link often becomes stronger the more you try to grow individually. You might think that focusing on yourself would lessen the connection, but it tends to do the opposite. The more you heal, the more aligned you become with your higher self, and the clearer the telepathic channel feels. It's almost as if your inner growth creates a ripple effect that reaches your twin flame, wherever they are. That's one of the most beautiful, yet challenging, lessons of separation. It forces you to grow in ways you never imagined. At first, it can feel like a void, like you've lost a part of yourself. But over time, you begin to see that the void isn't something to fear. It's a space that invites you to fill it with your own light, your own strength, your own love. And strangely enough, that's when telepathy tends to become even more profound, when you're not grasping for it, but simply allowing it to be. There's a kind of surrender that happens during separation. At first, you might resist it, clinging to the idea of reunion, longing for things to go back to how they were. But eventually, something shifts. You begin to accept that separation has its purpose. You start to trust that the connection doesn't rely on physical presence. And in that surrender, telepathy becomes less about holding on and more about flowing with the connection, allowing it to guide you without needing to control it. And isn't that what love really is? It's not about possession or control. It's about connection, trust, and presence, even in absence. Twin flame, telepathy teaches you this in the most subtle ways. It whispers to you when you least expect it, nudges you when you need it most, and reminds you that love, in its truest form, transcends the physical. But telepathy can also bring up emotions you thought you had buried. Maybe it's a wave of longing, or maybe it's a deep sadness that feels like it comes out of nowhere. These moments can be hard because they make you question whether you're really healing or just stuck in the past. But what if these emotions aren't a setback? What if they're simply part of the process, part of clearing out old energy, part of making space for something new? You see, telepathy isn't just about communication with your twin flame. It's also a mirror of your inner state. When you feel their emotions, it's often because something within you is being triggered. And in those moments, you have a choice. You can either get lost in the emotion, or you can use it as an opportunity to go deeper within yourself, to ask, what is this showing me? What part of me needs my attention right now? And this is where telepathy becomes a powerful tool for growth. Because every time you feel their energy, every time you sense their presence, it's an invitation to heal, an invitation to trust yourself, an invitation to remember that while they may be your mirror, the work of healing and growing is ultimately yours. One of the most profound realizations you might have during separation is that the connection isn't something outside of you. It's something within you. Telepathy, dreams, synchronicities, they all point back to one thing: the bond you share with your own soul. Your twin flame is a catalyst, yes, but the real journey is about coming home to yourself. And when you begin to see it this way, the signs, the telepathic moments, they don't feel quite so heavy. Instead of longing or loss, they start to feel like reminders. Reminders that love is never truly lost. Reminders that separation is just an illusion. Reminders that even in the hardest moments, you are connected to them, to the universe, to yourself. Now, that doesn't mean the longing disappears entirely. There will still be days when you miss them deeply, when you wish things could be different. But those moments become softer, less consuming. You learn to sit with the longing without letting it define you. You learn to feel their presence without needing to hold on to it so tightly. And in that softness, in that space of surrender, something shifts. You start to realize that twin flame separation isn't about waiting for reunion. It's about becoming whole within yourself. And telepathy, in a way, is a reminder of that wholeness. It's a bridge between you and them, yes, but more importantly, it's a bridge between you and your own heart. Because here's the thing, when you sense them, when you feel their emotions or hear their thoughts in your mind, it's not just about them reaching out to you. It's also about you tuning into a deeper part of yourself, a part that knows love in its purest form, a part that understands connection beyond time, beyond space, beyond the physical. And maybe that's the greatest gift of twin flame telepathy during separation. It's not just a connection to them, it's a connection to the infinite, to the part of you that knows you're never truly alone, to the part of you that trusts in something greater, even when the path feels uncertain. So, the next time you sense their presence, the next time you feel that unexplainable wave of emotion, take a moment to pause. Breathe. Feel it. And remember that it's all part of the journey. This beautiful, messy, transformative journey back to yourself. Over time, you might notice that telepathy begins to shift. At first, it may feel intense, almost overwhelming. You're constantly reminded of them, constantly pulled into this invisible dialogue. But as you grow, as you start to trust the process more, something beautiful happens. The intensity begins to soften, and in its place comes a quiet, steady knowing. It's not that the connection fades, it's that you no longer feel the need to grasp at it. You trust that it's there, even when you can't feel it as strongly. And that's an important part of the journey, learning to find peace, even in the midst of uncertainty. Because separation has a way of pushing you toward surrender. It strips away the illusion that you have control over everything. It asks you to let go, not of the connection itself, but of the need to control how or when things unfold. It asks you to trust in timing, in the universe, and in yourself. This shift can be subtle at first. You might still have those moments where telepathy catches you off guard, a sudden thought of them, a memory of feeling. But instead of it sending you into a spiral of longing or sadness, you start to welcome it. You see it as a reminder of the love that exists, rather than proof of what's missing. You also start to notice that the connection isn't just about them. It's about everything. It's about how you relate to life, to yourself, and to the world around you. Telepathy begins to feel less like a mysterious phenomenon and more like a reflection of the interconnectedness of all things. You begin to see that just as you're connected to your twin flame, you're also connected to everything else, the earth, the sky, the people around you. It's all part of the same energetic web, and maybe that's why the twin flame journey is so powerful. Because it's not just about love between two people. It's about awakening to a deeper truth. The truth that we are all connected. That love is the thread that runs through everything. Telepathy is just one expression of that truth. It's a reminder that even when things seem separate, they're not. Even when you feel alone, you're not. But of course, there will still be moments when it's hard. Moments when you feel the weight of separation, when you wonder if you're imagining the whole thing. And in those moments, it's okay to feel what you feel. It's okay to miss them, to long for them. But don't forget to come back to yourself. Because at the heart of this journey is you, your growth, your healing, your evolution. Telepathy can be a guide in those moments. When you feel their presence, instead of clinging to it, try asking yourself, what is this showing me about myself right now? Sometimes it might be pointing to a part of you that needs attention, a wound that's asking to be healed, a fear that's asking to be released. Other times, it might simply be a reminder of the love that exists within you, the love that doesn't depend on anyone else. And as you learn to tune into yourself in this way, something incredible happens. The connection becomes less about needing them and more about being present with what is. You begin to trust that if reunion is meant to happen, it will in its own time. You begin to find peace in the present moment, even when it doesn't look the way you hoped it would. And that's the paradox of separation. It feels like distance, but it's really a journey inward. It feels like loss, but it's really about finding yourself. Telepathy is just one of the ways the universe reminds you of this. Reminds you that love isn't something you find outside of yourself. It's something you cultivate within. There's something incredibly freeing about this realization. Because once you stop trying to control the connection, once you stop resisting the process, you open yourself up to something deeper. You begin to see that the purpose of this journey isn't just about reunion with your twin flame. It's about union with yourself, with your soul, with the universe. And in that space, Telepathy becomes less about receiving signs or messages and more about simply being in flow. You no longer need constant reassurance because you trust that the connection is always there, whether you feel it or not. You trust that everything is unfolding exactly as it's meant to, even if you can't see the full picture yet. This doesn't mean the journey becomes easy. There will still be challenges, still be moments of doubt. But those moments no longer define you. You learn to ride the waves, knowing that they're just part of the process. You learn to hold space for both the connection and yourself without losing sight of who you are. And perhaps that's what twin flame separation is really about. It's not a punishment. It's not something to be endured. It's an invitation to grow, to heal, to trust. An invitation to remember who you are beyond the longing, beyond the waiting. Telepathy, in this sense, is like a quiet companion on the journey. It's not there to give you all the answers. It's there to remind you that you're never truly alone. That even in the moments when you can't see the path ahead, there's a deeper part of you that knows exactly where you're going. So, when you feel that familiar presence, when you sense their energy, or hear their voice in your mind, take a moment to honor it. Honor the connection. Honor the love. But most importantly, honor yourself. Because this journey, as much as it's about them, is ultimately about you. About your soul's evolution, your heart's expansion, your journey home to yourself. And maybe, just maybe, that's the true purpose of telepathy during separation. Not to keep you tied to the past, but to guide you toward your future. A future where love isn't something you seek, but something you are. A future where reunion, if and when it happens, is just a reflection of the wholeness you've already found within.